Bueno, pues llegamos a
Well,
la
we are
última
now
conversación
reaching
del día
the
que
last
hemos titulado La
conversation
dignidad de
to
los
be held today
vivos,
under the
no la
title
dignidad de los
The
vencedores,
Dignity of the
sino
Living,
la
not of
dignidad de
those
quienes
who are victorious, who
no tienen voz ni
are
espacio, la de todas y todos
bankers,
las que callan
but
y que
of
oyen el
those
nombre
who
en los
don't have space, of
periódicos,
those who
la de los seres
keep silent, those
humanos
who
que
don't have a
comparten
name
este
on
mundo con
journals,
nosotros. Y en
on
busca
newspapers,
a Ai
and also
y
non-human
a Michel para que suban
beings
al
that share
escenario,
the planet with me. I'd
les
like
voy a
to
presentar.
invite the two guests who are going to take the floor now.
Entonces, para esta conversación contamos con Aï Futaki, que
Ai
es una
Futaki is with
ilusión
us for this
tenerlo, como
conversation.
decía Mohamed,
It's
¿no? La
fantastic.
fraternidad como espacio
As
también de
Mohammed
amistad
mentioned, this
y también
fraternity as a
amistad
space for
y el
friendship,
camino nos ha
and
hecho
also friendship
encontrarnos.
and the
Y
path
para
has
mí estoy muy
made
feliz
us
que estés hoy
met,
con
and I must
nosotros,
say
Ai,
I'm very happy
que
to
se
have you
presenta
with
como
us
mensajera del mar,
today.
que ha
I,
aprendido a
she's a
escuchar
messenger
lo
of
que
the
el
sea.
océano lleva,
She has
las
learned
historias, las
to
memorias, las
listen
señales de
to the
vida que
stories
hemos
of the
usado
sea, the
y ha
memories,
convertido esa
the
escucha
stories
en
of
una forma de
lives,
presencia y de
and she
cuidado
has turned
hacia los que
this
ya no
listening
somos.
into a way
Sabe
of
que
being
reconocer
present
la
and
dignidad de
of
los que se
giving
han
the voice
ido
to
es
those
también
who
una
don't
manera
have that
de
voice.
sostener
She
la
says
de
that
los que se quedan.
recognizing the
Y
dignity
también
of
está
those
con
who have
nosotros
left
Michel
is a way of
André, que es
maintaining and sustaining those
bioacústico,
who are
estudia el
still with us.
sonido
Michel
en
Andrés
los
is also with
océanos
us.
y
He
ha
is a
pasado décadas
bioacoustic
escuchando lo
studying
que
the sound
nosotros
in the
no somos
oceans.
capaces de
He's
escuchar
been
y
he's
de
spent
oír.
many
Una red
decades
de
listening
voces, de
to those
llamadas,
things
de
we are not able
comunicación
to hear,
que existía
a
mucho
network
antes
of
que nosotros
voices,
y que
calls,
estamos
and
destruyendo con nuestra
communication that
indiferencia. Su
existed
trabajo
even
es un
before
recordatorio
us
de
and
que la
that we are
dignidad,
destroying right now. His work is a
del individuo no se
reminder of the
limita
dignity
a
of
los
the living,
humanos
that
y
is not
aprender a
limited to
escuchar
human
y
beings.
de que los que
And
no
he
hablan
also
nuestro
tells us
idioma
that listening
es sin
to
duda ya
or
el
learning to
primer
listen to
gesto
those
de
who
una
don't
fraternidad
speak our
más
language is
amplia.
the very
Así
first
que con
gesture
ellos
of a
os dejo
fraternity that is
a Ai
broader
y
than
luego
that.
empiezas tú.
So I'll give the floor to you of there.
Buenas tardes. No era exactamente como quería
Well,
empezar. Normalmente teníamos
this was not the way I wanted
algunos
to
sonidos que desconocemos. Son sonidos
start because I wanted to share with you some of these sounds we
de toda la historia
don't know
de
that
nuestra
come from the
humanidad.
sea and that we have ignored for the whole of the history of
Gracias porque me
a
permite introducir lo que
humankind.
habéis oído.
And thanks to Sandra, I have the opportunity of sharing with you this sound that I
Volverá. Pero
cannot share with you because of technology, but I hope I will have the opportunity before the end of this conversation.
historia de la humanidad,
In any case, this is something that we have ignored during the whole of our history,
miedo,
the sound of the sea.
algunos seres,
We've always been afraid of that, except for some beings like um, this,
los que hemos alejado del mar lo veíamos
like I.
desde la superficie.
Because for
Algunos se
human
atrevían
beings, we lived on surface and, well, we saw it from the distance. So some people
y cuando
went
volvían
on
contaban
a
la
on
historia
a
de
boat, on a ship,
monstruos
and
o ballenas que
would
sofocaban
get closer
a
to
nosotros
the sea. And when they
peregrinos
came back, they would be
historias de
telling
miedo.
stories of horror stories of
Vivíamos
monsters that were whales, in fact. And this
y entonces durante toda esta
made this
historia
relationship with the sea even
los seres humanos
more
siempre
distant.
se atrevieron a
So,
sobrehacer.
throughout the history of humankind, there have
Hacían
been very few human beings that dared
para oír el
submerge
agua.
into the sea. And when they did that, well, they didn't hear anything because
El mar es un mundo de
our
silencio.
ears are not prepared to listen to the sounds and the water.
La película
So,
incluso
this is
del mar de la
how
de los años 50,
we have
que
this
salió
film of Le Monde du Silence by Cousteau, the
nos
World of
hace
Silence, that was in
la
fact
belleza del mar,
making that
del agua, pero nos
relationship
dio
with
el oído
the
hacia la
oceans and the seas
frecuencia
more and more
y
distant.
el sonido del
So
mar
they did
sin sonido.
show
El
some
mar
images from
sin
underwater,
vida,
but there
el
was
mar sin
no
vida.
sound. So that would be a dead
Durante toda la
sea
historia
with
del
no
planeta,
sound.
incluso antes de que
During the
el
whole
mar
of the history of
llegara
our
a vivir
planet,
en este planeta,
even before
el sonido,
the
los primeros sonidos eran sonidos
human beings arrived to
naturales,
the earth,
físicos,
appeared on the earth, there have been sound in the sea, the waves, earthquakes, bubbles in the water. It was all physical sounds. Later on, some organisms started to appear in the sea and they produced sounds, and all those sounds coexisted in pure harmony for many, many years, because all these sources of sound was, in fact, the essence of life in the oceans. And for the last 200,000 years, human beings arrived to this planet, and we're trying to understand our role on this planet. And I believe we have not understood what we're doing here, and we don't have much time left to understand what we're doing on this planet. And then we started introducing sources of sound in the sea in association to our activities. And all of this, we've done this without knowing at all what we were doing, because we don't have the capacity to listen, to hear under the underwater. So we that had no impression, no perspective of the impact of those sounds we were introducing in the sea, and like dolphins do. And after the Second World War, we started to open up our interest about this. So thanks to the military, new technologies were developed, allowing us to hear underwater. So this gave us this capacity to hear underwater, and then we suddenly discovered this myriad of sounds produced by all living creatures and beings in the sea, dolphins, whales, all living creatures underwater produce a sound. And in any case, all of them have the capacity of perceiving that sound. And that's a characteristic of the inhabitants of the sea. And I will come back to that concept later on, but also of every being inhabiting the planet. And in the sea, it's actually like that. If there's no sound, there's no life. And as I was saying, when we discovered this new dimension in the sea, we also discovered that we had introduced acoustic sounds, noise in the sea. This was a source of disruption to underwater beings, and we saw that this could become a danger, a fatal danger for them, and it's even a threat right now. A threat that we cannot hear. So for us, it took a long time to discover it. But also, all these sources of pollution, including sound and noise in this case, and there's also plastic spills and so on. But also, we didn't have the technological capacity to be able to hear the impact in the sea, on the sea. So we see that we are threatening our own existence on Earth because of what we are provoking there. During these days, we're talking about fraternity, community. We've been hearing wonderful things about our responsibility as human beings, also listening about wars and about unsustainable activities, and that we really need to stand up and fight against those differences. But we're not talking about the environment that surrounds us. And this environment is an environment we've been going away, let's say, for many years, or separated ourselves from the environment. If we can think altogether about a date when we started the disconnection with nature, I think we could say altogether that it was about a century ago when we started exploiting the environment, the sea, but also the remaining of the live environment, and through industrial means. So the industrialization and exploitation of the planet, about 100 and something years. So this disconnection with the living world that has brought us to a level of risk we had never experienced before. So this is why we have this perfect storm with a crisis on the economy, social crisis, climate, biodiversity. So we have never seen such set of crises all together at the same time. And this means that we are probably going to face a situation where we are going to be confronted to a radical risk for the way we live. We, in this fraternity, we should be looking around us. And as I mentioned earlier, we've been here for a very, very short time. We're children. There are many species that learned how to live in harmony on this earth. And this morning, we heard about how we should be humble on earth, but we should also be humble with regards to the other species that live on the planet. So we are here in this room all together and we feel safe here. But if any of us go to the Arctic, the Antarctic, to the jungle, in just a few minutes we would feel in danger and under a threat to our lives. The way we live is surrounded by buildings and barriers that protect us, but this has nothing to do with the reality of life on this planet. And this is the disconnection with nature. And I believe it comes from the moment when we started articulating our language. About 150,000 years ago, it was the beginning of words. And this allowed us to exchange ideas, and this led to us not listening to the rest of the world surrounding us. And today we are the only species in the world who only communicates within itself. The other species listen to the other species, learn from them, and also they manage their time and survival on Earth through the exchange of information that they receive and pass on to the other species living on this planet. And this disconnection, 150,000 years only in comparison to the million of years of existence of Earth, of the planet Earth. This has led to this capacity of ignoring the fact that our survival depends on the survival of other species around us and the world around us. And Alain this morning referred to how we live on this planet that is unique in the middle of all those galaxies and so overwhelming also from the point of view that we cannot imagine that it's infinite, the universe is infinite. And also when we go to the sea or to an environment that we do not control, we also feel lost in the same way. And this is the humbleness we need to recover. We need to reconnect with nature and this community that is not only a human community, but a planetary community. Otherwise, we will destroy this system. Nowadays, we have governments who are very irresponsible because they know perfectly well what is going on. The data produced by scientists are already in the hands of governors, and they are ignoring them. There are caricatures we could mention, but there's no need for that because we are living this very crucial, essential moment with the convergence of many different crises, and we should make sure we don't allow for the destruction of the planet in which we live. The only tool we have or weapon is voting, the elections. But the politicians don't take the appropriate decisions. This community is not only a human community, it is a planetary community, and this demands that we start listening again, and we need to listen to nature, and this will help us change our perspective, and this is our last opportunity to be able to survive on this planet. Our species, has destroyed the planet in just 50 years. And it is a single species among millions of them. And all those other species lived on Earth before human beings started existing on this planet. And these species will continue existing without us. But this is our last opportunity to reconnect. And for me, this is possible through the fact of listening to the differences, not only among human beings or between human beings, but also we need to listen to the differences with other species. And one day, if we can start understanding the ways of communication of some species like whales, who have been on this planet for 35 million years. They've survived all the different crises the planet has undergone. And they probably do have the secret of how to continue living. These whales have a different scale of time and size that really has nothing to do with us, with our scale. And we have a great capacity of ignoring what we don't see, we don't feel, what we don't hear. And there are living beings on this planet, not in faraway planets, but on this planet, these species has survived for millions of years, so they have the knowledge of how to survive. So I hope one day we will be able to communicate with these species, not with aliens, but we need to be able to be on this planet, learning from what is surrounding us. And in the past, we were part of that nature, but now we are not.
Que no tiene ningún tipo de sentido como Dios. Somos parte del mundo vivo.
We are part of the living world. And the most important thing in this sense is to understand that we are not unique and that we depend in great measure on the other living beings. I would like to share some pictures from some peoples, some that live in who are the guardians of silence. Why are we talking about silence today? They live in Amazonia, and silence is what will allow us to communicate. That's what we're talking about this, and I will explain why. In the sea, the sound that is emitted is submitted to alterations because of changes in temperature, salinity, and pressure. So that sound will change its shape some meters away from the source and some kilometers away even more. So depending on the distance and the depth, it will not be perceived in the same way. Nevertheless, animals who live in the sea and perceive those sounds can communicate and have done so for millions of years. So what is the parameter they have? How can they communicate if that signal is constantly changing? So the only constant parameter is the time range between the sounds. Silence. Silence is what gives rhythm to information. That silence is what allows for communication. Animals in the sea, but I also believe that land animals emit a sound to reach the individual that is going to receive that. So they broadcast this, or they produce this sound to reach a destinatory. And on the Earth, we're talking about universality, this concept about human beings, but if we can apply that to the whole planet, I think that the way of communication that exists in a universal way, on this planet is, in fact, silence. It's the only way of reaching the destination, the target. So this rhythm that is created by silence is the way to respond to that need of reconnecting with nature and to feel as human beings decent enough to live in this on this planet, in this living world where we have destroyed the essentials of it have been destroyed by us in 50 years only. And therefore we need to listen to what is surrounding us, and being in this in meeting in here is an opportunity to listen to the world. We don't know. We don't need to go to the Amazonia or to the sea. We can go to a garden or a park and listen there. And the indigenous people in um, Amazonia know of this. They are in a acoustic communion with all these living beings. And this is what allows them to live in harmony and have the secret of coexisting with other living creatures on this planet. So let's try and do this by listening to others who are not human.
Gracias. Yo creo que puede empezar con el vídeo.
Thank you very much. Shall we watch the video, please?
Gracias. Gracias.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes. Gracias.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Sandra, for being part of this really interesting festival. Thank you to the organizers, the audience, everybody. Thank you. I'm Ai Futaki. I am Japanese, and I do free diving. It's not an object, it's the tool of being underwater, because With an oxygen bottle, you can spend a long time underwater, but when you breathe in or out, there are bubbles making noise. So you can spend long time underwater and you can observe what's going on, but you cannot enter in those other worlds like whales or sea lions, dolphins, turtles, manta rays. They can stay a long time underwater. So I do as they do. I do the same. And I wanted to say that we are the only mammals on Earth when we hold our breath and we touch this sensitive area underwater, our body changes as if we were sea mammals. What happens? Our heart beats slowly, and our blood reaching our tips of the toes or toes is concentrated on our vital organs, brain, lungs, and heart. But as human beings, we have this big brain. So we think, oh, no, 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 I can't do this because I'm a person. I cannot hold my breath so long, but we can. So this thought, it stops us, is a barrier, it blocks us. So free driving for me is the best way to break our own barriers in the sense that no one else or not any other thing can break this border for you. You are facing life or death. So our mind is so strong that you cannot try sometimes. We are our worst enemies. If you don't try, you will never know. So here you can see some images in black and white. These are some of the pictures that I make. I don't want to show them, oh, look at my pictures. No, no. Rather, what I want to do is to be as transparent as possible. So when the environment wants to express something, I just click and that's it. And when I expose my pictures, I don't add a title in purpose because if there's a title, then people have a specific thought. And this is not what I want. I want them to feel, receive the stories of what nature is willing to tell. And then people do feel things. And this is when you complete the message. And once in color, it's not about me, look at me. No, no, I want you to accompany me and enjoy my underwater world. Why? Because the planet, two-thirds of our planet is water, 70% of our body is liquid. The blood is very similar to the components of seawater, and before we are born, we swim in our mom's womb. So I believe in the sea's strengths. And with these images, I would like the audience to go back to the beginning of this link, this connection. But of course, when we grow up, that's it. Stop. So we need to go back to the origin where we wanted to be. And through my work, I want to share the message that we are all part of this planet. We are not the owners of Mother Earth. What can we do? This is my message. Unfortunately, I don't have the answer. I'm still searching for it. And underwater, as you know well, the vibration travels fourfold faster than outside water through air. So any emotion, it also travels real fast. So I was with an American crocodile in Cuba, and it's okay. There are some moments when people ask me whether I was scared of crocodiles, sharks, and oh, here it is. The crocodile. I was holding its hand. I was massaging the crocodile. I started with its back, and then I was tickling and massaging here. And then we held hands and we could take the picture. So the brain uses more oxygen than the rest of our body. So when I have one single last breath, I need to think, oh, I need to send this email to this person, or what I'm gonna have for lunch. No, when you're on the water, you don't need to think about that. And also in nature, thinking and acting is too late. When there's a warning, even the most subtle of thoughts, when there's when you are thinking a lot, you are overthinking, it's bad. You cannot grasp those alerts, those messages, like vibration as it travels 4 times faster. Situations, if I am feeling fear, they feel it before me. And what happens? It's normal. There's plenty of animals underwater, like Jaws, the film on sharks. It's horrible, because it's not true that sharks kill people. There are little fish around sharks, but there is some movement when they want to move. I leave because obviously I respect their time and place. So before I access their home, I enter with respect, as if I were to introduce myself and I access their territory. And once I am underwater, I act as if I live there, as they say, in a weird manner, who is this lady? But I'm there and I say, no, I'm living here. If you've never seen me, you gotta go to the doctor. But I've always been living here. So this is little by little how they say, she's not dangerous, she's fine. So we gotta look for food and feed the kids and, establish the connection. And fear works the same both ways. It's normal to be surrounded by different animals, but then when they feel fear, they say, hey, we're going to defend ourselves. So it's normal. And also thinking and acting may be too late. So I live at the present moment, always located in the present. Sometimes I don't remember much of what sort of interaction I did. And then when I look at the pictures, I I collect my memories. There is plenty of data and information. My mind's gonna blow. What else do I want to tell you? Yes, for me, these messages that I receive on the water, I'm not doing this for the oceans in the sense that nature, I believe, they know how to survive. And as we don't understand we shall leave them in peace and we will do our own thing. In order to live in harmony, I believe that we all need to start focusing on ourselves. If you don't live in harmony, if you cannot love at yourself, how can you love someone else and love nature? So first, I need to establish the communication and listen to your body. Our bodies talk, you know, they send clear messages. You don't need to do meditation for 1 or 2 hours. No, just a deep breath and listen if something, if you feel pain, for example, you know, so little by little you start communicating with yourself and you reestablish this bond. So when you feel connected to yourself, you have more harmony with yourself and you have more moments and space to feel for others. It's like, it starts from a drop. And if all of us, at the end, I hope it'll become a huge wave. And there are so many horrible things going on. And I am much more scared to be right in the middle of Tokyo than near a crocodile. But thankfully, I live near the water, so I go underwater all the time. And this is all from me. Thank you very much. I'd like to share two experiences with you. One is that when I spent some time with sperm whales, they use clicks to communicate and they deep dive really, really deep, down to 2,000 meters, because they only eat a giant squid. And young calves cannot dive so deep, so they stay at the surface. So it's the right time to play with them. And I was wearing some sort of hoodie, and their noises are really clear, but I couldn't hear them properly. So, thinking that we are only capable of listening through our ears, I did some sort of hole only around my ear areas, and I could not hear a thing. So I caught the hoodie completely, and I could hear. So the sound is not only about what we hear, everything is totally surrounding environment. It's all about the clicks and the vibration, I mean. And another occasion was with humpback whales. Only the males sing to search for a female. This is their love song. And when they sing, they stand up vertically, um, uh, tail upwards and head down. And I could hear the song from far away. And as I was reaching them, I could hear their sound. But when I was right at the top of one of those male, it was like a punch onto my stomach. I couldn't hear it anymore. And I moved slightly and I heard the music again, the sound again. That was really striking.
No, esas son unas experiencias que son únicas y que únicamente seres
These
humanos
experiences are undoubtedly unique. And you explain this with such humility by saying that any of us can do it. No, it's not true. It's not true. And this is linked to what Camus studied. I mean, our relationship to animality and the fear towards death and the denial of our animal nature with regards to this fear. When you are underwater in these depths, and if you think, you know, I still need to dive to swim 2 meters up, or else I don't do it, I will die. You are absolutely exceptional, is an amazing level of um, nature and your body, your relationship with the sea. And I understand that it's this amazing way of being in touch with that body. All of us are really detached from it, but some exceptional people like you have established these really close relationships, and it's really striking. And our fear towards death, I think it's an animal feeling, and being aware of being makes us human, and we have not found this awareness. It's not that it doesn't exist, but our negation or lack of capacity to understand that other forms of living that doesn't go through the prism of our understanding impedes us to understand that there is a way of understanding life that is not ours. We have done everything in our planet. We are the most intelligent ones. So it'd be impossible for another superior being not to do the same. So it's absurd because we are just tiny beings diving in this planet or having this wonderful language capacity, being allowing us to be here exchanging these ideas today. But we lack the answer to the question, what are we doing in this planet? Our life is threatened because we have not understood which is the role we play in this both animal and plant world. Because now we know that plants do communicate. We have done a series of experiments saying that there's a virtuous cycle of sounds making plants grow faster, attracting colonizers or plants to animals to come and feed. And this cycle of plants in the Amazon, there is a relationship between the forest, the jungle, when uh, there's almost 15 when the big Amazon River is the water raises in the marshes or the wetlands. Imagine fruits and the animals, their fish will eat the seeds that birds have left here. It's their digestion that allows those seeds to germinate. So, and the dolphins will eat those fish. They will swim away, and it allows those plants and seeds to grow real far away. So you see the relationship between plants, birds, fish, and dolphins. It's only technology that has allowed us to understand this. So the next time uh, when you're underwater, I encourage you to wear microphones to enhance your experience. The rest of us will use some oxygen bottles, and so you are exceptional because your experience guides us. Thank you. Oh, I forgot something I wanted to share with you. When I am very close to a whale, like a meter's distance, and their eyes, when they look into me, they don't look into me how I am. I cannot hide anything from them. They always look into me, and they always tell me, "You're going to be honest. You're going to follow the truth." And I believe that I always say, I'm sorry if I believe I need to. I always prefer to be honest.
No sé si alguien quiere. ¿Sí?
I don't know whether anyone like to participate. Well, congratulations for these two amazing presentations. I have a curiosity. How long, yes, to you, yes. How long have you timed to be free diving underwater? Good question, because I forgot to say it. For me, it's not an object, free diving. It's not a goal per se. I don't need to be a long time. This is not my objective, or diving really deep is not my objective either. But if I stay a long time, I need more time on the surface breathing. So I cannot call the dolphin to go back again because we have a meeting. So I prefer to stay shorter periods of time, but more often. But time on Earth and time underwater is different. Let's say 10 seconds is nothing. Goes real fast, but 10 seconds underwater allows me to introduce myself. I can interact with the water beings and I can say goodbye in a short period of time. So time expands. So time is not limiting to establish a relationship with animals.
Bueno, quiero decir a todos nosotros en
I
3
wanted to
días
say that in 3 days, you can, all of us, in 3 days, we can stop breathing for 3 minutes, knowing to to switch off your brain, let's say, with some breathing training. At the beginning, I did train to obviously do the right breathing technique, and my instructor really put his um, he used his elbow, and by looking at the sand, I could do longer apneas. Yeah, yeah, maybe up to 6 minutes. Sometimes it's not necessary. Size is a world Guinness of apnea.
Pero como ella dice, no es el objeto, o sea, es lo que
But
le
she says
permitió
this is not the object. This is what allowed her to do what she truly wanted to do. But yes, for you to know, she holds the apnea world Guinness. This happened back in 2011. Then social networks were not a big thing. And even if it happened, I'm not really good. I just wanted to share the message. I was a young girl, and of course, everybody knows what the worldliness is. And being the first human being, the first woman, if I managed to do this, I told myself,
hacer y en cualquier momento que se cambiará, pero primera, si hago la mía. Entonces, pues
the very first thing, it was mine, the first photographs and the first longer apneas. And yeah, I managed. Yeah.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias a los dos
Right. Thank you
por
very
su
much
disponibilidad y sobre
to
todo
the two of you. Thank you for
dejarnos
your
comprender la importancia de
humility and your
escuchar,
greatness,
de
and
escuchar
to let us understand the
que
importance
sigáis
of
escuchando
listening to each other.
porque
Let's all
lo que hemos
continue
compartido
listening
podemos
to
tener otros oídos
uh,
también
all of us. I hope that we can have open ears for what's coming next. So, a big round of applause,
para preparar
and
lo que
let's
viene ahora y así
prepare
cerramos estas
our
conversaciones de esta
next
manera.
speakers to conclude today's session. Thank you very much.